Hello. What follows is an update for our members, supporters and staff. I make no apology, this is no Hollywood production. It's a simple briefing video so that all of our supporters know where we stand. It's been about 6 months since I've managed to deliver one of these videos to our members and supporters. And the reason for that is that we've been in a time of great change. During COVID, these updates came quite regularly. And in some respects, it was quite easy at that time to tell you what was going on. Things were quite clear. However, now in 2022, we find ourselves in a time of really considerable change. So in this video, I hope to cover what's a little bit about the background of what's been going on and what our plans are for the rest of the year. At the beginning of 2022, we started the year planning for a world where COVID was still having quite an impact on our business. Welsh regulations were still in place and we had to plan train services which accommodated those. Now, in July of 2022, that seems a long way off in the rear view mirror. However, we're always mindful that COVID is still impacting us, and it's not unusual to find 4 or 5 people from our staff affected by COVID at any one time during June, for example. Anybody who's involved in the heritage railway business will be aware of the issues that we face with coal. We're no different. We've been heavily impacted by that. We started January with a deal in place for 2 years' supply of Welsh coal, and on the 28th of January the news came that that was no longer available to us. And of course at the same time the situation in Russia meant that our backup supply of Russian coal was also no longer available to us. A shipment of coal from Ireland coming in was also caught up in the P&O ferry crisis. So 3 things in a row, really not very helpful. But I'm pleased to say that at the moment we have agreed some stable supplies of coal, so I won't focus on that here. It'll become the discussion point for 2023 and beyond, I don't doubt. More than that though, the cost of living crisis, of which we are all aware, is having a huge impact on our business, be it volunteers arriving here, our customers or supplies of materials. So it's a time of really significant change, and we have to navigate our business through some really choppy waters. And I must say that as we look forward to what happens even in the next 2 months, July and August, which are so important to our business, even as we look at those, we're not yet sure how things are going to pan out for us. As I say then, what follows is a summary of the things that we do see at the moment, and then our plan for the rest of the year. So in April and May, the traffic for the Ffestiniog and Welsh Island Railways was really quite low. And we noticed at Easter there was a very low number of visitors to the area. And also we noticed during the May Day and end of May bank holidays that visitor numbers were low compared to what we'd cautiously expected. So we ran out of the end of those 2 months about 8% below budget on our traffic figures. That's quite a big chunk. However, what I must say immediately after that is that June has bounced back We now look like getting to the end of the first 6 months of the year being on budget for our traffic figures. This is really encouraging. Human resources have been a defining factor for our business throughout this year and will continue to be so. Who would have thought that we'd end up in a position where the number of people available to work defined the number of trains that we were running, not the number of passengers around or the number of trains we had. You just wouldn't have thought it. But that's where we've been. Through April and May, we probably ran between 60 and 80 trains less than we had expected. But we filled them well, so we managed to save costs, managed to make the most of the human resources that were available to us and make some useful income. We can see quite clearly that the couples market, the mature couples market who are with us at the moment are still able to spend and are willing to do so and arrive at our door in considerable numbers. But also we know that when it comes to the summer season with the summer holidays, what will be reflected there will be most likely the Easter holidays and the Springbank holiday, where traffic figures were lower and young families were all looking for the cheapest priced tickets. At the moment, we are running a couple of trains to Blaenau every day as well as the Welsh Highland services, and we're running a few less Woodland Wanderer services than we thought we might. Simply, this is because the mature couples are demanding the full length of line run and are able to pay for it. Anybody in the UK at the moment can only be too well aware of the rail strike that has been going on. I'm pleased to say that we're working closely with Network Rail and our contacts at RMT to keep our railway operating during the national actions. We have been very well supported by the team at Machynlleth who allow us to take a release across the crossing at Kai Pow to let our trains go across on strike days. This does require some people going the extra mile to be there at midnight to take that release and set that up, and at 6 AM the next day to release it again. Nonetheless, we do have a plan in place. We do remain nervous, however, that the rail strike may affect us as the summer goes on. Equally, we notice there's this chaos at the airports, and people going overseas on holiday are now in a position where they're really thinking, is that the right thing to do? There's less flights, things being cancelled, and people are nervous about travelling. That may help us. It may help us with more people staying in the UK. However, when the price of a litre of diesel has a 2 at the beginning of it, I think that all of us think long and hard before embarking on any journeys. And that includes the customers that are visiting our railways. We also know that the hospitality industry in Wales is going through one of its most difficult times for many years. Again, this is driven by human resources. A survey by Visit Wales showed that 63% of all businesses in tourism in Wales are struggling to find enough staff to operate their business. They tell me that the position is more pronounced in North Wales, and we can really feel it. We expect during the summer that this situation probably will get worse rather than better. It's certainly deteriorated since the beginning of 2022, when we thought we were probably at a low point in the number of people available to us, but actually we weren't. We're still yet to get to the most difficult point in the year in terms of staff available for us. Turning to the Welsh Highland Railway just for a moment, for reasons that we don't really understand, services from Carnarvon have been very light on loadings in the first few months of the year, possibly because it's a higher cost offer. But if I was honest, we don't fully understand what is going on there. And so we are considering carefully how we boost traffic figures from Carnarvon. We have also seen on the Welsh Island that the demand for all line services all the way through has been growing back again, which is encouraging. And so we'll probably do more of those services as we go into the autumn period. We can't make those changes too quickly as we've got many forward bookings for the services that are already advertised. I think we can expect a really different, markedly different summer season compared to the autumn that will follow. And again, it will simply be because there's a real polarisation of the marketplace where families are expecting to try and spend a minimum yet still enjoy themselves, whereas the mature couples are probably more likely to say, hey, let's do it, let's go out and spend on attractions. We appreciate as well that our services have not had the level of clarity and certainty that we'd all like. We all want to see a clear timetable, a known number of trains and so on. I won't apologise that that's been the case in the last 2 or 3 months. In fact, the flexibility of the service has meant that we've managed to keep costs down and keep our business in good shape financially as a result. However, we probably will try to be a little bit firmer on what we plan to operate during the summer peak when it's more important to all of us. We have to be mindful that COVID hasn't gone away, and when people call our booking office, we still have people requesting some degree of separation. There are different expectations by different people, but some people still want their own space. Other people are not too much worried about it. If anything, as we go into the summer peak, we sense a little uptick in the number of people that are worried about COVID. I guess because the numbers of people affected by it are going up and people are worried about catching it and having their plans for their holidays upset. So that's where we are, a place where everything is changing, and the operational side of the railway is having to work very hard indeed to make sure that we're balancing all these changing inputs. We're used to change, but I think we're used to 1 or 2 things changing at a time. At the moment, everything is changing all at once. That's what we're having to deal with. And success, well, success, how will that look like? Well, it will look like us getting to the end of this year, having made money, not lost money, and having made sure that we can carry on with our essential winter maintenance activities as planned. So now then, a few words about our plan for the summer. It seems strange to be in July and still making plans for summer, but things are changing and we have to be flexible. We have to make the most of the resources that we have, and I have to say that it's really important to us that our volunteers that we rely on for the summer season stay with their plans, their bookings, and spend time with us. Without the volunteers and their support, the railway, I've always said, is nothing, and it never feels, it's never felt as much like that as it does now in this summer. So the input from our operational team is really important this summer. So what trains will we run? Well, we will continue to run the Ffestiniog services with the Mountain Spirit to Blaen Ffestiniog, and that will run 2 times a day from now right the way through to the 2nd of September, every day except Sundays when we just run the morning service unless demand is particularly high. We notice a dropping off on Sunday afternoons. The Woodland Wanderer service is being adjusted. Our framework plan had the possibility of 5 services to Tannerburg each day in the summer peak. We've now adjusted that and made it so that the maximum will be 4, but they may be slightly larger trains. We know they're popular services, but also we know that the ones in the middle of the day are the most important, and it's those ones that we're focusing on. By doing this, we free up a little bit of resource, and so our intention is to move a small train and locomotive to Dinas so that we can run the Quetlin service, which is a new service out of Carnarvon, which will run to Ridley and back, largely on the busy midweek days. And this service will help give an extra departure from Carnarvon, give us something more to sell from that end of the line, but also will be priced at a slightly lower level than the through trains and the Gellert Explorer services. So we're hoping that that will prove to be a winner. We're not certain that it will be, but now is the time to dip our toe in the water and find out. So if we don't try it in the summer peak, then our opportunity is probably lost for a year, and we wouldn't want to do that. So small trains will operate in and amongst the longer trains from Carnarvon this summer. And I hope you'll all go and try them and will enjoy them. Knowing that, and knowing that the other Welsh Highland services will remain as is, so that means that from Sundays through to Thursdays we'll have the services which run as far as Bethgelert, and on Fridays and Saturdays we'll have the Harbour Master and the Snowdonian Star services which go the full length of the line. So that pattern will be retained right through until the 2nd of September, at which point we'll change to an autumn timetable, and more on that later. This new pattern gives us more lower cost tickets to deal with the market that's available to us in the summer season. I hope you'll all understand that and why we're doing it. There are many questions around, I know, about who can hop on and hop off of trains. I'd just like to clarify that back in April we made it possible for our members to hop on and hop off trains, and then as we moved into the May period and the May Day bank holiday, we made that facility open to paying customers as well. You may ask why there was some delay in that, and that'd be perfectly reasonable. And the reason is that these days, as well as dealing with COVID, but these days very few people carry cash in their pockets, and it was imperative that every train had the ability to take ticket income, ticket fares by credit card. And that's easy to say, not so easy to organise. So it's taken a little while to get that all in place, but it is now, and so we can make the most of that. The timetable doesn't look like it used to years ago. It's not the same railway. And on this, I have to just say just a few words. All heritage railways in the UK are fighting against the costs of running heritage rail. Coal has more than doubled in price. The cost of employing people has gone up. If you look at the minimum wage, in the last 10 years, that's increased by 60%, which far outstrips inflation. The cost of materials has gone through the roof, and trying to find people to do work is very difficult. So trying to deal with all of these things is immensely challenging, and all heritage railways have to face up to that. One thing that we do know is that if we run empty trains, more fool us. Empty trains eat money, take away from our business. Full trains add to our business. I know it's simple and obvious, but that's where we are. And yes, there does have to be a change in the kind of business model we run. And I don't doubt that it will change again a couple of times in the coming years as we settle down to a new way of working that gives the flexibility that we want and also brings the income that's essential to keep the railway that we love alive. Okay, so I've covered a lot of ground in this video, and actually I know that I haven't got much of a smile on my face while I'm doing it. And you may say, well, is there anything to look forward to? And is there room for optimism? And I would say very strongly, yes, there is. Our railway, through the help of its members and supporters, finds itself in a strong financial position. And during the COVID crisis, we've taken a lot of steps to do the necessary maintenance and to look after our railway such that it's in really good state and able to operate now. So a lot of what we've done has really paid off. Now, what we want to do is take that a step further and carry on that good work so our railway is still in good shape. And I understand that many other railways will be fighting really hard to get into that position in the coming years. So is there room for optimism? Yes, there is. Our lottery funded project at Boston Lodge is really getting into gear now, and you'll hear more of that in the autumn as more people join us and the works at the Boston Lodge and in the interpretation start to take hold and really get underway. So that will continue, that will be very strong. Also, as we sit here in July, I feel quite a degree of optimism and enthusiasm about our winter plans for volunteering. Alex and the infrastructure team, Dylan, Glenn and the guys at Boston Lodge are all working on plans to do as much work as we possibly can on our railway this winter involving our team of volunteers. It's great fun to work on our railway, it's really good to look after it, and it's really nice to know that we'll keep it in good shape. So big plans in place, and you'll hear more about that as the summer progresses and into the autumn. Also, as we go into the autumn and we get to the AGM season, Supporters Day, Vintage Weekend and so on, you'll be hearing more about our strategy for the next 10 years. Our previous strategy, the Sustainable Railway, has lasted us for just over 10 years, and when I read back over it, we've done really well. We've done most of what we've said. Some people have said, well, 10 years for a strategy, that's a long time. Isn't it a bit old? Is it time we updated it? Well, no, actually, we did a 10-year plan. We worked on the 10-year plan, and largely speaking, we have done everything that we said we'd do, and some more besides. So that's been a good thing. But it is time now to look at a plan for the next 10 years, and we're living in a world which is changing, an environment that is changing, and the challenges for heritage railways are really different as we sit here in 2022 from what they look like at the turn of the century. So, plenty of good stuff to look forward to, and I will close simply by asking for your continued support. The members, supporters and staff make this railway. Without our volunteers, we know we'd be nothing. That continues to be the case. And I think we've all worked really well together to make our railway survive in good shape through a really difficult time. I think actually some of the toughest times are yet to come, but I'm fairly confident that our team will see our railway through those times. Thank you.